I have been waiting like 22 hours to talk about this game. I wanted to go live last night as soon as the game was over. I could not wait to talk to Legs about this Warriors-Clippers game. We're also going to talk about the Magic-Sixers game, which was also interesting, and give you a preview of the final night of the play-in. All of that and more on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, the best dressed man in sports, at least right now, rocking the DNVR shirt. Look at that thing right there. Beautiful.
That's it, man. Comfortable too. Let me tell you what. People need to get some of this gear, man. I'm telling you.
All City merch store. You got to check it out. Legs, I'm telling you, man, I always get excited for our show. It's always like you're going to have something interesting. We just love hoops. We love talking hoops. But last night, it's the best of what I love about hoops. That game between the Clippers and the Warriors was unbelievable. It was a novel in the number of storylines and just like, old guys trying to dig deep to pull out a win. It had so many things going on that I'm not kidding when I say I don't think this all year long. This is the most excited I've been to do a show.
I hear you, man. I listen. First of all, let's just say how about these 2 days of playing games?
That's fantastic.
I mean, how good has this been? It's amazing the way the switch has been flipped, right? Because the regular season was tough this year, really tough, man. A lot of injuries and just. It just felt like everybody collectively was saying, let's get to the postseason. The teams, the coaches, the people that cover the league, everybody. And it's amazing what this has given us over the last 2 days. I like the play-in. The day it was announced they were going to do this, I was a big fan of the idea. I just like the fact that you gave more fan bases more reason to stay invested longer.
Yeah.
And I think they deserve. That's really, to me, what it was always about. Was the fans. More fans in more cities, man, staying engaged later into the year, thinking your team's got a shot. And then setting up the only thing we have that comes close to replicating an NCAA tournament game, right? I mean, that's what this is about. And that's why it's so compelling to people. It's the best players in the world in a one-off scenario for a couple of these teams. So it lived up, man. This was incredible both days. And can I be full disclosure with this game last night?
I can. I love. Is this a Legler confession corner? I think it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was gassed.
Yeah.
I watched all of the first game.
Yeah.
I watched up until about probably 4 minutes left in the third quarter of this game, and I didn't intentionally reach over, turn the light out. I started nodding off, man, and I was like, I was just like thinking, and the whole time I'm thinking the Warriors aren't winning this game. Like Yeah. So I was trying to hang in, but then it just got to the point I was like missing sequences of the game because my head was dropping. So I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. I'll check it out in the morning if I have to. And I wake up at like 6:30. I got to get up because I'm getting my son up to take him to school. And I grab my phone, put my glasses on, and I go to see I wonder if they made it close. So that's what I'm thinking to myself. Let's see what happened at that game. Did Curry ever get hot? Because he really had a slow first half. And right off the bat, I see headlines like Curry Magic, strikes again. And I'm like, what did I miss? So, of course, I caught up. And then, me, I went and watched the entire second half all over again today when I was very alert and awake. And it was incredible what I was watching. And obviously, Curry's going to get majority of the credit. And it's just so much what he means to this league.
Yep.
And the entertainment value that he brings and how special he still is. It's incredible when he has those moments, man. There's nothing looks like that when Steph Curry's playing like that. But, man, did he get a lot of big-time help. Big-time offensive performances from three guys. Big-time defensive performance out of Draymond Green. So help all over the place. And Steve Kerr called it one of the best wins he's had since he's been in Golden State.
Agreed.
And
I agree.
I don't think he's exaggerating.
That's
I don't think he's exaggerating that at all.
Yeah.
That's not hyperbole, man. That's how proud he was of what they were able to do and digging that deep to win that game with their season on the line.
And that's what it is, sports. It just brings us such drama, and that's what it was. We saw a team that had to dig deep because they were so hobbled and exhausted and just everything against them. It was incredible. But let's get into the details here, and we're going to make this our FanDuel breakdown, our FanDuel game of the night. You can check out FanDuel. You receive $300 in bonus bets when you deposit $5 at sign-up, but you got to use our code ALLCITY. All right, so our game breakdown. Here's how I'm going to start with you, Legs. This is the part you were asleep for. 89-83 start of the fourth quarter. It was 88-98 when Steph checked back in, which, by the way, he checked in earlier than I expected because he looked tired in the third quarter. He hadn't been playing. He's banged up. Probably wouldn't be playing if it wasn't the play-in. But it's like, all right, he's checking in a little early, but the game's almost out of hand. So I get it, 89-98. He hits a three-pointer in 3 seconds. The ball is like on the sideline. They get the inbound. He gives a pump fake, gets open, and hits a three. And you're like, there it is. Okay. They cut it to 3 in under a minute. So from 10 to 3 points. But then the Clippers make a run, and Garland hits a 3 with 6 minutes left that pushed it back to 9. So it felt like that run was maybe the Warriors' last gaps. Clippers respond. Then Horford hits 4 threes in a row. Al Horford hits 4 in a row that puts the Warriors up. And then Brook Lopez, another fellow old guy, hits a response 3 that was like really as impressive as the other ones. And then the knockout came. Draymond stuck Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi passes for some reason, just gets the ball out of his hands. Steph hits a go-ahead 3 with 50 seconds left. Just another classic. Draymond, let's just run a 2-man game, run off it, get a shot. Then Draymond steals the inbound. They go the other direction. They get a goaltend and a foul. And then Draymond picks Kawhi's pocket. That's how this game went in the fourth quarter for the Warriors to get a win. It was a response by the Clippers, response by the Warriors, some big shots down the stretch, and then the Warriors just didn't give up another bucket. So that's kind of the rundown of how the game happened. What stands out to me, I mean, I don't even know where you want to start with this one. What stands out to me, obviously, first is that Steph Curry and Draymond just still know how to run action. So much of playoff basketball is what do you do in the clutch? Like, what do you have something you can go to? Steph and Draymond don't have to call a play. They just know how to work the 2-man game together to get an open shot, and they did it several times.
To me, go to the shot that gave them the lead inside of a minute.
Yep.
And look at the action they ran. And you talk about two guys that are in sync that have played together forever. And, you know, they've run dribble handoff game in different versions and varieties. There's a lot of different ways to do it. That one really kind of blew my mind because Steph Curry he came off the screen. He's headed toward the right sideline. He throws the ball behind his back to Draymond Green at the top of the key. Then immediately, as soon as he flipped it back to him, he plants, spins, and immediately chases the ball right back off of Draymond Green's hip for a handoff. And the thing was, like, Draymond Green, when the ball was flipped to him from Curry, like, it, you know, a lot of guys, okay, he flipped it to me behind his back because he sort of had two guys going with him. A lot of guys would have caught that ball and immediately turned, like, to the opposite wing and, like, throw it to somebody over there because Steph already drew 2 and threw it to me. Like, he knew the entire time as Steph Curry was flipping that ball in behind his back that he was going to come right back and get it. And so Draymond was in perfect position to give it to him. He actually didn't get a great screen on the handoff. So both defenders were still in the picture. But Curry knew he could drive that ball right at Lopez and get him to retreat.
Little jab, yep. Little jab.
And he's so big. It's hard to ask a guy 7'1", like to retreat, plant, and then get out there and contest it. He's still got a decent contest. But like the synchronicity of those two players in that moment to run that action, that's not typical at all. Like a behind the back pass and then immediately spin and chase it again. Like that's just not normal basketball. But Draymond Green knew exactly what Steph Curry was about to do. Now you still got to get the shot to go off an incredibly difficult step back in front of the sideline. And he makes it. That's the biggest shot of the game, obviously. Then they get the steal and 3-point play, Podziemski. So, and that was pretty much lights out. So that to me, I guess, was the biggest moment of the game. And it really spoke volumes into how this team and how often they've referenced the fact there's an aging dynasty and it's the end of the run, the end of the Curry era. You know, are they ever going to really compete or contend again while Steph Curry's there? So anytime you get these moments, it's special. And it's like for them to dig their way out of that deficit, man, they've barely had Curry back. They just missed him for 27 games. They barely had him back. This is a team that's offensively challenged if he's not on the floor. to find a way to come back against the Clippers with that short amount of time and have Curry be the guy that's like makes the deciding shot, the biggest shot of the game. It was just incredible to watch, man. And look, they fight to see another day. They're not in the playoffs yet. They got to go win another road game and beat the Phoenix Suns to have an opportunity to get into the postseason and play Oklahoma City. But I think everybody that loves watching Steph Curry play is relieved that he gets another opportunity.
And it really isn't just him. It really is the Warriors. And when the Warriors, no matter what collection is it, as long as it's Draymond and Steph, can the other guys read the court around them? And that's what we saw in the fourth quarter. It was just everything clicked. Everybody was in the right spot, working at the right timing and everything else. And it was unbelievable. But what I loved about that one, and you kind of referenced it, they went to the bottom of the barrel. Who knows if they have anything in the tank tomorrow night for this other game? It almost in some ways doesn't matter as much to me. The Warriors are at a stage right now and their season has gone such that it's just nice when they can tap into this, even if it's just once. You're like, it's still in there. I don't know if they can do it every night, but it's still in there at these special moments. But do you remember? So you talked about the shot with 50 seconds left. That's the play you just broke down. But there was one right before it where you could tell they didn't have it. They almost wasted the possession because it was like, all right, we know what we're going to do, the two-man game. But they didn't have any energy or their legs. Like Curry was hobbling the entire night, and they basically wasted the whole possession. And in a weird way, it was more impressive because it showed you that they really, literally had only enough energy for that one final play. They didn't have a second else. And that's, again, what I think is so impressive is just how deep they had to dig. Real quick, though, it wasn't just about him. You got performances from a lot of people last night that was incredible. And I'm going to actually start with Porziņģis because I know you want to get to these other guys. Porziņģis has really made himself into a useful version of himself. And what I mean by that is, I think early in his career, 3-point pick and pop 3-point shots, get to the elbow, fade away. Like those are the things he liked to do. He made great passes in this one. He really just read the court well, made the shots when he needed to, and just he really does a variety of things and did a variety of things in this game that I just was watching going, he's a star that has fallen because of injury and other things, and yet he's become this all-around guy that can be like a high-level role player in a game like this, and I thought that's what he was.
Well, he's one of those guys, man, that I think is on the short list for me over the last decade that I look at and go, what a shame that we didn't get this guy healthier in more seasons because he would have played a lot more relevant games and because he is a really unique player. He's got elite rim protection defense, and he's been doing that his entire career. When he's on the floor, he makes a massive difference with his rim protection because he's laterally, he does a great job covering ground on the perimeter, and then he's able to turn and retreat and go bother people at the rim. It's not a lot of guys in the league can do both. He can. He's a unique offensive force because he's not a pure post-up guy. At best, he's going to turn around and shoot over you at like 12 feet. He's not going to post up on the block, but he can make turnaround jumpers over smaller defenders. He's just not strong enough to like back you down with a dribble if you get single coverage. So he's going to just take one dribble, turn, and then 7-3 shoot over the top of you. And he can make that shot pretty effectively. And then he's got this ability to step out. He doesn't just stand at the line. I've always said this about Porziņģis. He doesn't toe the line when he's spotted up. And here's why that matters. When you're at 28 feet, 29 feet, 30 feet sometimes, and that's where you're spaced out, I got news for you, man. There's very few bigs in this league that are going to be able to provide enough help on the action at the ball screen and get back to him to bother him. And when you're standing right at the line and your range is 24 feet and like you're waiting there, it's one step less closeout distance. And it matters. It matters with your spacing. It matters with what shots you can get off. So he's got some of the best ranged anybody over 7 feet has had ever in this league. And it makes a big difference because it does create spacing problems that are different when he's on the court. And he made some big threes in this game. But, that's every time I watch Porziņģis play well, I always think about all of the time he's missed and like what he was robbed of from injuries. And because where he's been, people value him. His teammates like him. He's a good dude. He's a really good player on both ends. He just hasn't been out there enough to make enough of a difference in enough situations, but he certainly was able to do that last night.
And to your point about like just trying to back you down, I do think in the first half of his career, he did like to do those things a little too much. You know, I freelance at the top of the key and let me see if I can cross and get to this or step backs or whatever. And I just feel like he's cut out a lot of that from his game and now just knows exactly the most efficient way to be involved. And then to your point, 7'3", probably a 9-foot release point on his jumper, and he's behind the line. It just creates so much more gravity. The next guy, Gary Payton II, might be my favorite on-ball full court press guy, because that role, if you're just like, hey, full court press and try to wear the ball handler down, your number one goal is just to exhaust the ball handler, make it tough. But every now and then you can put pressure on to force a mistake or a turnover. I feel like Gary Payton treats every single possession like he can force a turnover. And in the fourth quarter, he forced a couple of them. I just love the way he plays that role, which feels like a hustle throwaway role, and he turns it into a value add.
Well, he made my list earlier this year of most impactful guys that play less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what he is. And the other thing that he has, it's obvious, he's got an incredible relationship with Steph Curry. They've got a great friendship. It's a great trust level there on the part of Curry. When Gary Payton is on the floor, look, he's not a great offensive player, but it's amazing for a guy that's not a great offensive player how many timely plays he makes offensively for them, whether it's a slash. Occasionally he'll make a big three. He'll get something in transition. He'll hard crash from the corner on a missed shot and get an offensive rebound, like a putback. Every now and then he'll catch a lob. And I'm describing a lot of things. And then you look up at the end of it, he's averaging 7 points a game for the season. But it feels like all of them matter. Yeah. He's just one of those guys, right? He's just in the middle of all of the winning type of runs that they have. Gary Payton has a lot to do with that. So you went there next. I'm going to go with a different guy next. I want to talk about Gui Santos because we've had the Warriors a lot this year, and most of those games did not have Jimmy Butler or Steph Curry. And that's a tough thing to watch offensively when they don't have, and Porziņģis wasn't there yet. So, I mean, think about what we're saying. Like, how are you going to go create offense? And so you start watching this guy, Gui Santos, early in the year. We had him a couple times, and like Steve Kerr's raving about him before the game when we're doing our interview. And you're like, okay, didn't know much about him, but he's just talking about the stuff he's perceiving every day, what he's seeing every day, and drawing your attention to it in the games. And now you start seeing him, he's getting an opportunity because they have all these injuries. And he just starts playing like great, like really impactful, both ends. He can handle it, pass, shoot. He's athletic. He defends with the conscience. He's always smiling. Like he's just one of those guys you kind of pull for. And it's going from that to like, okay, there's a really cool story. They got guys out, and now he's getting a chance, and he's jumped on it. And we did a feature on like when he called up his parents when the Warriors finally gave him a guaranteed contract this year, and like the tears on the phone, and like just all taking us through that. It was just incredible human side to it. But forget all that, man. The guy can play. Now I'm watching this guy, and I'm going, Gui Santos is a player. Yeah. He is a legitimate player to play heavy rotational minutes for a good team. Like that's what he has become. And they don't win last night without what Gui Santos did throughout the entire game.
Well, I want you to walk me through what it is that that he does that is such a high level. But I'm going to preface it by saying this. When you go to the playoffs or just to a game where it's elevated intensity, focus, execution, some of it is how many guys, some guys can make shots when it's, open and the pace of play is slow, but when you speed things up, the windows tighten, everything else, some guys fall back. The other part of it is that it's not always about shot making, but it can be about decision making. When the game speeds up, do you start to make worse decisions? Gui Santos last night, the Warriors won because they just were clicking and making quick decisions. Everything was quick on the offensive end and defensive end. And Gui Santos, to me, it was almost like he thrived in that. When everybody else was locked in, it actually accentuates the fact that he knows what to do. He plays 1 second in the future. So that's what I would say stood out last night is he looked like a great veteran player who knew how to play at that pace. But what is it that you think made him so impactful?
I like this description of him by MRT331. He's an energy guy with skills. That's exactly what he is because he made a name for himself, at least drew the attention of the Golden State Warriors coaching staff and Steve Kerr by energy. And last year, like he'd play on short minutes, but he was always like you noticed him. And he got more of an opportunity this year. And now they're finding out, and I think even Steve Kerr, and I think all those guys would admit, the guy's more skilled than they thought. What I love about him is he is always composed. There's nothing about him that looks like he's in over his head. It's happening too fast. None of that stuff. He's smart. He's tough. He's really strong with the ball. Like positionally, he's always in the right place where he needs to be. He catches anything that you throw to him, whether it's on the transition or tough catches on rolls and dives. He never he had actually a fumbled turnover last night. And I was kind of shocked by that. I think he was too, because he's just so strong with his hands, because he's got great anticipation where he's supposed to be, where the contact is going to come from. He's a smart player, man, and he's got some skill. Now, he still needs to work on his consistency with his shooting, but he is showing you. And look, by the way, this guy averaged 15 points a game over an almost 3-month stretch. So that's like legit. Like you've arrived. You've arrived, man. And he's getting you 5 boards, 5.5, 6 boards, some nights double-digit boards, 4 assists. His shooting numbers from the 3 aren't great, but he makes up for it with efficiency in other areas. So here's what I'm seeing by what I saw last night. He is now a guy that Steve Kerr inherently trusts.
Yeah.
Like he just trusts him to be on the floor when they have to make plays, because he seems to be the guy to come up with it. So this is a great, great find for the Warriors organization. Like, I don't think this guy's going to, be an all-star or anything like that one day, but he has proven that he can be a heavy minute starter, early guy off the bench on a good team's rotation. And he'll probably be that for the rest of his career.
Great 0.5 decision maker. Off ball, just have to read the court. When do I cut? Where do I go? And like you said, having great hands, I think, is one of the most underrated skills in basketball. Just guys that can, have good touch, but also can catch tough passes, tough rebounds, just different things like that. And he has it. And you're right. This is why the playoffs are so different from the regular season. They played 8 guys. You had your starting 5, obviously Al Horford, veteran guy. Gary Payton's been with this team forever. He knows how to play. DeAnthony Melton. And that's it. It's like you have 8 guys that know what to do. That's all we need. That gives us 48 minutes of rotation, and it works. Horford was great. I don't know if we have anything on him, but I do want to get to Draymond's defense on Kawhi next. It was unbelievable to watch how demoralized Kawhi seemed, and even I would say passive in certain moments. And I just credit Draymond, because Draymond seemed to know exactly how to sort of like put the pressure on him. And I've seen Kawhi do this before. Like when he gets trapped, does he always read the court well or whatever? Some of it was that where he would get trapped and throw a long pass that was off the money, and then Golden State would go the other way. But some of it was just dribbling, trying to do the thing where he sizes you up and then makes his move. Couldn't figure Draymond out, and then just would pass it. Like, I have the ball, everyone's waiting on me, and then I just pass it to somebody else because I didn't do anything with it. And there were so many possessions like that in the second half where I was like, that guy is completely stumped.
I completely agree with it. And it was pretty amazing to watch it, because yes, give Draymond Green all the credit in the world. I mean, and he's going to get an awful lot of love for this performance defensively. He's been doing it his entire career, but he's at the later stages of his career. He doesn't get as many opportunities now to play straight up against elite perimeter face-up scorers. Like, Draymond Green is really good defensively still at sliding over on help rotation, drawing charges, or just being in the way and creating traffic in the paint, or when he has to guard guys in the post that are trying to back him. And he's so good at holding his ground with his forearm extended, and then he rakes on the ball when you try to spin in. But to put him on a guy that is going to probably make an all-league team, that's got a live dribble that can shoot 40% from the 3, that can take you off the dribble, get to his spots. Like, Draymond Green, to be extended that far to the floor in these situations where he's guarding a player, like, he doesn't do that nearly as much as he used to earlier in his career, but he did it in this one. And I think I don't know that they would have even gone with it as long as they did, but it was obvious that Kawhi Leonard was bothered by what was happening, and it surprised me. And Adam, here's why it surprised me. I felt like, and maybe this is just what it feels like with somebody just, takes your lunch money and they demoralize you. He looked like he gave up on his moves too quickly. Like, I've seen Kawhi Leonard play with the basketball back and forth, start, go, between the legs, crossover, turn, get you on his back, take you in the post, bump you a couple times, and then shoot a fade. And all that might take 8 seconds. And at the end of it, he gets a 15-foot little turnaround fadeaway right in his wheelhouse, right? He didn't do any of that. Like, he started to go, and as soon as Draymond cut him off, he picked it up and passed it.
Yeah.
And I was just so surprised, because he had an incredible year. Kawhi Leonard had a great year, and he didn't really go at him for the duration that you see him go at other great defenders that guard him most nights. So I'm just going to give Draymond the credit for that. For whatever reason, Kawhi Leonard was completely out of sorts and did not feel like he could get the advantage on Draymond Green. And he gave up and like aborted these moves like so early from what I'm used to seeing when he gets it going. So he had basically, he had one basket in the fourth quarter. He had that one late cut dunk.
Oh yeah, it was a throwaway too.
He cut late, right, and dunked the ball. Like, the game was pretty much over when that happened. Really, but like, go a whole fourth quarter and like you don't notice Kawhi Leonard because he can't shake free. Now the one thing I'll say is, Adam, like I just said, like Draymond is still really good in the post. He's really good at guarding those guys, but it's Kawhi Leonard. I'm surprised he didn't try to get him on his back and start to do that thing where he kind of is going back and forth and you don't know which direction he's going to turn. He can go either shoulder, bump you, and then get into that lean back. Because to me, I think he could still get that shot off against Draymond, but he didn't want any part of it. And it surprised me. It surprised me. It really did surprise me. He looked like he just lost his aggressiveness because of what Draymond was doing to him and the effort and energy that he was expending to lock him up.
The only other time I remember Kawhi looking like this was against Denver in the bubble in Game 7. I just remember when Denver was making their run to kind of win the series coming back from 3-1. I remember him having a similar – he looked befuddled and also just kept passing when you're like, no, that was you have what you wanted. An ISO, you got to go and do something. Why did you just swing the ball? And here's how I would put it. He reminded me, watching him, it almost makes me think of like a boxer with a great right hook that always relies on it and just sets it up. But he knows that the defense is ready for it. So he's afraid to throw the hook because he knows that if I miss, he's ready for the counter. He's going to knock me out. And so in the fourth quarter, in the clutch, he kept just not going like, oh, if I go and don't work, Draymond's going to steal it. He didn't do it. When they fell down by 5, then he finally said, I'm going to go, and Draymond picked his pocket. And it made me think, man, maybe that's what it was, is I think he just knew Draymond was reading him perfectly, and it scared him and made him get off ball thinking, I'm not the option here, which is crazy.
Yeah, the strip was kind of nuts, man, because you just don't see that happen to Kawhi Leonard. But I see people talking about a little bit the sideline inbounds play.
Yeah, I
got to tell you, man, I took a picture of it, a still picture of it, because I wanted to just wrap my head around the spacing on that play. I mean, that's as bad as you can. That's as bad a spacing as you're going to have in that situation. So Kawhi Leonard breaks to the ball to the sideline, and I'm the only thing I can think of, everybody with the Clippers on the floor and on the bench with the coaches thought Kawhi could just break to the ball. He's so strong, put one arm out, hold off Draymond, put the other arm up, and just throw that little lead pass into him right there by the sideline. And that's a hell of an assumption, because look at the rest of their team. They had 3 players running to the ball, basically all 3 guys pinned dead on the sideline right there with the inbounds passer having absolutely no angle or no space whatsoever to deliver the basketball, and then the other guy not breaking to the ball on the other side of the court. It's as bad as you can execute in that situation. You talk about taking something for granted with the game on your season.
This is what it was.
Forget not your game, your season on the line, and you take it for granted. Don't you remember a year ago in the postseason, the number of teams that had problems inbounding the ball? We talked about it the entire postseason. I'm just surprised anybody would take that for granted in that situation. You've got to run something with better spacing and screening for multiple options for the inbounder.
So we have it, right? Do we have a photo of this? Yeah,
there you go.
A little bit of an overlay.
Are you kidding me? Look at the spacing on this play. Look at the 3 Clippers. Two guys, first of all, 2 guys are practically holding hands down in the corner. They're that close to each other. And then look where Kawhi Leonard is, pinned on the sideline 5 feet away from the inbounder. And then the 5th player you can't even see is all the way down here on the weak side of the floor, not flashing to the middle to give him an outlet pass. Because, again, to me, this absolutely speaks to taking something for granted that's supposed to be easy. But when a team is fighting for their season, they're not going to concede little things like that. So you have to make sure the details are critical. Screen, roll back to the ball, have different timed breaks to the ball. You can't have 3 guys break to the ball at the same time in the same direction. I mean, come on, man. You wouldn't do that. No, you coach your daughter's team. You wouldn't have three girls on your daughter's team break into the ball at the same time. You have to time up the action to break to the ball so that it's sequential, so that the inbounder has option 1, option 2, option 3. I mean, it's just as basic as it gets for inbounding the ball with the game on the line, and they did none of that. Yeah. So Draymond he took what they gave him, which was, okay, you're going to let me pin him here on the sideline. I'm going to keep him here. Now go ahead and throw it up. Then he gets the deflection, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah. It's almost like they were more worried about the play they were going to run once you get it in. But to your point, you take for granted that, hey, if this is the end of game, you have to get the ball in first, and then you got to try to score, and it didn't work out. If we go over to the Clippers side, what a way for this Clippers season to end, but perhaps even this era to end. I mean, it's kind of been falling apart here for a little bit, but what a run of disappointing losses, and this is right there with all of them. This game should have been a win. They were the better team, in my opinion. They had more momentum. You know, the Warriors are held together by duct tape, and this just follows in. Like, I remember, Legs, do you remember where you were in 2019 in the summer when that trade happened? I was in summer league, so I'm with a bunch of NBA players. Everybody was counting how many rings this was going to be. Like, they're for sure getting 1, maybe 2. Not only did they not get any championships, they haven't even had deep playoff runs. And it's wild to think of all of the high-profile, disappointing losses and heartbreaking losses they've had.
They've had injuries at a bad time. They've had guys play poorly in big spots. They've had some personnel decisions that didn't work out. Now, I'm going to give them some credit for this year. I believe they're the first team in the history of the league to, at any point in the season, be 15 games under 500 and finish with a winning record. So they were 6-21 to start the year.
Jeez.
And they completely turned it around. And it got to the point where they were playing so well the second half of the year. You're like, man, and you knew they had dug too big of a hole to like climb high enough to avoid the play-in. It was obvious they were going to end up being a play-in team. But you're thinking like, man, okay, if they can get into 7 or 8, win one game, like that's the way they were playing. You're like, that might be the toughest play-in opponent that you could possibly ask for if you're Oklahoma City or San Antonio. That's what it looked like in March.
Yeah.
And now here we go, man. They're one crack at it, the very first one, and they're out. And they had a 13-point lead inside of, I believe, was it 9 minutes? 13-point lead and at home, and you can't secure that. So I guess the season ended as it should then. If that's if you can't hold a 13-point lead in a game with your life on the line at home, then you don't deserve to move on. Golden State sensed it, took it, made every big play they had to make. Clippers made none. And that's really what it came down to.
It's just wild, man. What a wild run this has been for the Clippers. Just disappointing through and through. Any other thoughts here just about this game? The last thing I'll say is that just from a storytelling standpoint, this game was incredible. It really was. My wife fell asleep on the couch next to me, like at halftime of this game. I woke her up at the end just because I couldn't. I was like laughing. I was going nuts. I was screaming. It is so great to get to see the Warriors. Maybe it's the last time we see them at this level. Maybe we get more, but it's just so cool to see that they still can look like that, albeit only for a quarter. And it's another game I'll remember, man. The old dogs rolled back the clock.
For me, it's just, it's so much better when you're watching it while it happens. So I'm really ticked off that I felt I got too tired to finish that game. And I had to watch it today because it was great, like sound up and all that. And the emotion
You're right, though.
in it. Kevin Harlan's emotion was fantastic. And so that was all there. But it's just better when you happen to be watching the game while it's happening. There's nothing quite like it.
You're asking yourself the whole time, like, could they actually do this? How close does it need to get? What's going on, man? It was incredible. Let's take a break, though. There was another game we have to talk about, which is the Magic and the 76ers. Kind of the opposite of this game, a little bit less vibey, not nearly as great execution, but there's still some great storylines to it. And then we'll talk about the play-in tomorrow on the other side. First, guys, you know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach, on the roof of your car, or at a gas station 3 states away? Well, I've been there too, but I've got Shady Rays. They changed the game. They're sunglasses that are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. This is sunglass season. Just arm yourself. Buy a bunch of sunglasses, different styles, and then you'll have them for the entire year. Because the wild part is if you lose or break them even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So you can wear your sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on a boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use the code ALLCITY for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. This is new, 50%. It was 40. We just updated it. 50% off. Again, use that promo code. We also want to tell you about Shopify. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? How about now? Are you thinking about starting your own business? Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the All City merch store, where you can dress just like Legs is now. Shopify has you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email, social media marketing, and more. They also have AI tools that are designed to help you maximize sell. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show, night edition. We couldn't make tomorrow work. Legs is traveling. We got different things going on, so we gave you a Thursday night episode. And to be honest, I don't know if I could have waited to talk about that one another 12 hours, Legs. I don't know. So I'm glad we got it out of our system. I will tell you, I have one thing. We're talking about the play-in games from last night, and I do have one change I would make to the play-in. Tell me if you're in on this. Let's call it the wild card. Other sports, you have a wild card. You know, like the play-in almost feels like you sacrificial land. They played in, and now they get the top seed, which is kind of true. But I would almost like it if it's like it's the wild card. The Sixers won the wild card. They're the wild card in the playoff now.
That's not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's like that first round of the NFL playoffs, right? It's like these teams that grab the last spots, and now they got to earn their way into the divisional round. That's not bad. I'm digging it.
Who sounds more like they're going to win an actual playoff series, the play-in team or the wild card?
Wild card for sure.
Wild card has a shot. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Wild card. It's like, yeah, man, you don't know what you're about to get with this wild card.
It could be anything.
You know what I mean? Right. All these teams want to do now is like the play in. They just want to remove the play and just be in.
Right.
They want to be called
it's
in.
True. They're
right?
just in.
Right. And so now we got 2 more spots left to decide, man. It's gonna be a pretty good night Friday night.
Well, the 76ers punched their ticket, and they did it by beating the Orlando Magic. And everything we just said about this is my big note from this game. Everything we just said about the Warriors offense, how they just were reading and reacting and playing together in real time. The opposite can be said of the Orlando Magic. Watching this game, it almost feels like they run plays that have the one option. You run a play in the NBA, Legs, to create an advantage and then read what happens. And there's all these options off of it. Do I cut? Do I do this? Watching their offense was almost like I screen down for this guy and he comes off and he curls and then he goes. And there just was no like, do I cut? They're playing the high side. So I slip on this or I curl or I do this. And it's just such a clunky offense. It feels like there's nothing to be read. You just run things and then somebody tries to make a tough shot. It was a grind to watch this one.
It was a grind, and I feel like they've got more talent than for their offense to look like that. I mean, look, Banchero's not the most efficient guy. I don't know, he's not probably one of your favorites, but the guy's talented, and he flat out can score. Wagner, I know he missed a lot of time, but he's back, can score. Desmond Bane, who played great in this game, can light it up. Suggs has improved his offense. Wendell Carter Jr. is a serviceable offensive player. Like they have pieces that fit, but I agree with you. They were not difficult to guard in this game. And when you make 7 threes as a team, I don't know in this league, in the modern era of the NBA, how you survive making 7 threes and expect to win an important game, particularly one on the road. It's when you're gonna and look, Philadelphia's shorthanded. They're missing a huge piece in Embiid, but they still have Maxey and they still have Paul George and they Quentin Grimes and Oubre, and they've got guys that can Edgecombe put the ball in the basket. 97 points and 7 threes. It's just not going to get it done. And I think part of the reason, their offense, the way you described it, the way that's probably appropriate way of describing it, I just think they're so used to over the last 2-3 years, like their defense being all they need.
Yeah.
Right. And to get it done. And their defense will make it so tough on the opponent. Their defense will create opportunities to get out and run. And that's what they're going to hang their hat on. And they're still a good defensive team, but they're not the type of defensive team that can just shut you down to such an extent that they're going to win a game 97-94. I mean, that's just that even in the playoffs, those scores don't happen in this league anymore. Rarely. So their offense to me was definitely stood out as just not being difficult to guard. And then the other thing that stood out to me about this game, I just thought the role players of the Philadelphia 76ers were exceptional. I thought Drummond played great. Oubre played great. Even Adem Bona had a stretch in this game with his energy and rim protection and just the problems, the disruption that he was causing in the paint with just sheer energy and bounce. 16 minutes, he didn't, he's not going to do much offensively. He had 2 points, but he had 3 blocks in 16 minutes. He had probably 2 or 3 other ones that he went after that forced misses. Their role players were fantastic. Maxey wasn't super efficient, but he did his thing. Get to your number. Without a B, just get to your number. He did it. Paul George was solid. Edgecombe was very good. But I thought guys like Drummond, Oubre, and Bona were the tipping point for this team in winning this game.
Drummond had 2 threes in this game, which is hilarious. But the last one, I don't know if you remember this, because it was end of game, but it wasn't quite over. I don't think it's like 7 points with maybe 30 seconds to go. And Drummond could have wasted another 10 seconds, but he was feeling it. He was in the corner, and he's like, you know what? I'll put the exclamation point on this and just raise for 3 and hit it. And I thought, what a dumb shot, but that was awesome. But this game to me was really about Tyrese Maxey. 31 points, 6 assists, and really in the clutch of this game. Both teams' offense, honestly, was a little clunky. I think Magic, super clunky. 76ers, it wasn't like they were running the most beautiful stuff out there, but Maxey's ability to just get by his guy, create something, it was on full display in the key moments of this one.
Yeah, it was, and he was a difference. Like he was Bane played really, really well. I just thought even on the possessions, Maxey wasn't scoring. I just thought his speed and the way you have to account for that, and like what that does to shift your defense, made the game a lot easier for his teammates because he has such acceleration. It's one thing in this league that's so hard to game plan for because you everything you do defensively is predicated on the ball being at point X. That's how you talk about your defense. When the ball's here, we're going to do this. When they run this and the ball is here, here's how we're going to defend that. Well, when the ball, you don't know where the ball's going to be because of his speed, takes it around like the second defender, or his speed gets somewhere before you expected it to. His speed is what makes the big difference for this team, and it allows those other guys to get more opportunities to make plays.
It was really impressive stuff from him. What else stood out to you about this one? I mean, here's what I'll tell you about. We'll talk about Paolo Banchero. And watching this game, part of me, I feel for the guy because I think his feel for the game is just so horrible. But part of it is you watch the Orlando Magic offense, and it's not like they're playing with there's a lot of reads that they're creating for you to make. They really do focus on their defense and slow it down on offense. But I worry. So I do think that this is something about a coaching thing, that this team doesn't have a dynamic system where they're all forced to make reads. But at the same time, sometimes you come into the league and you get enough years where it's like, will he develop a feel for the game? Like if he were to go to a team where the ball was moved, there was a lot of ball movement and things were, is he ready for that? Or would he almost be coming in like a rookie because that team hasn't developed that aspect of his game, in my opinion, at all?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. And I think, look, this is a bad look for him. You can't play much worse than he did. He's 7. This is a game that's winnable. Philadelphia's down in Embiid. They didn't play great offensively. They only put up 109 points. That's a winnable game on the road in the playoffs. Desmond Bane did his thing. He did his part. And look, it wasn't just Banchero. Jalen Suggs was awful in this game. Couldn't make a shot. But Banchero, 7 for 22, 6 turnovers. In a game where like they need you to be better than that to give them a chance on the road.
And a lot of those
Desmond
turnovers
Bane showed up.
Yeah, real quick, a lot of those turnovers he had were in ISO too. It wasn't like, he was sped up and made a bad pass. It was, I'm trying to back a guy down and he poked the ball away and went the other direction. Like they were ISO turnovers, live ball ISO turnovers.
And honestly, the thing that I was even more kind of disappointed in watching him, he had about 3 shots that I can remember in the second half that were like point blank, pull up little short jumpers. Like, where you got all the space in the world, you got to make those shots. You have to show up in a bigger way than he did in this game. And look, and you can beat up Wagner a little bit too, because it's, he didn't exactly, he had 12 points, but Wagner missed so much time. That was his 7th game since he came back. He missed 2 months, and that's just his 7th game. So I'm going to forgive him a little bit. Only took 11 shots in this game. He had some foul trouble he was dealing with. I'm not going to beat him up as much. If you're Paolo Banchero and you have everything physically that you need in a game like this to be the best player on the floor, your team needed you to be that, and he had one of his worst games that he's going to now have to carry into the summer. So I don't think you're over-exaggerating the stuff you're saying about him. He's got a lot to prove still in this league, and he needs to come back better and smarter and more efficient and be more of a leader for this team.
And I hope a new environment, whether that's a new coach or some trades that are made or just something that mixes it up and gets, him playing a little bit more in a rhythm offense and a little bit less of this ISO offense that I just don't love. I just feel like it puts him – I don't think he does a good job, but I also think it puts him in such a rough spot where it almost accentuates his lack of feel for these things, and it was just tough to watch. The last thing on this game, I thought it was tough to watch the body language too from Orlando. There was a timeout like in the third quarter. It was early enough in the game, and they're down a little bit, but not a lot. And there was a timeout, and they all walked to the bench in a way. Like you can kind of tell when a team has like excitement for what's ahead or what have you. And I just thought that Orlando looked as frustrated as it was to watch them play. And more importantly, I didn't think they were a team that looked like they were playing with a lot of belief. I'm worried about this Magic team that they might be just going through the motions here on their way out of this season.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy to me is last year I had a completely different feeling about them. And seeing them in person, I was so impressed with their toughness and their fight and their chemistry and their connection to their coach and like all of those things. And I remember one game stood out in particular to me. We called the game where they snapped Cleveland's long winning streak. Maybe it was like 14, 15 game winning streak Cleveland had, and it was in Cleveland. And it was a Sunday afternoon game, I believe, an ABC game. And their defense was so good in that game that I just came away so impressed with them. And, the whole time you're always like, well, man, they don't thank Wagner, Banchero. Like they're never on the court together. They've been hurt so much the last 2 years. They just need more rhythm, and they weren't able to do it. I do think Paolo Banchero is better than he was yesterday. I know that there's a lot of talent there, and I've seen it. But right now, it's almost like you got to go into the offseason, and he has to have like a complete reset mentally. Whenever by the way, they're still alive here trying to play in the postseason. So let's not put an obit on their season. They're still trying to get in, and have another, best of 7 series where he can potentially redeem himself somewhat. But I'm just saying whenever it ends, and I don't think anybody's going to expect them, even if they get in, I don't think anybody's going to expect them to beat the Detroit Pistons. Whenever their season ends, I think he needs to go into the summer, and it's a big summer for Paolo Banchero. I think he needs to remind people of like what he looked like, this physical force that he was his first couple years in the league, particularly his rookie year, and remind people who that is and really dig deep and what he wants to be. Because I think he is at a pivotal point right now in his career, because I personally think guy's got an awful lot of talent.
No question.
That's in there. And so there's some ways to figure out how to make yourself into a better pro, a better leader, more consistent, more efficient. Let's see what he's able to do. But again, they're still fighting to keep their season alive.
So we just talked about one team that we think feel good. The Warriors, everything was awesome, and they have this momentum. And we have one team we feel terrible about, and yet they both are still alive, and they both have games. So let's talk about Hornets Magic here. It's an interesting offense versus defense matchup. I think the Hornets are just more who they are than the Magic are who they are, if that makes sense. Like the Hornets kind of know what it is that they do that makes them a successful team, and I don't know if the Magic do. So I favor the Hornets in this one, even though they will be in Orlando.
They will be in Orlando, so you wonder now, look, they just won a game with their season on the line. That was at home, and they fought hard, and they got that done. Their offense was great in that game. Now this is going to be on the road. So, if you're a road team now and you feel your season could end and you find yourself in a deficit in the second half, that's a different level of pressure. So we'll see how they handle it. But here's the one thing I looked at some of these numbers, and their last 3 games against the Magic, they put up big numbers, and they made 58 threes in those 3 games. And they're going to shoot a ton. They're going to make a ton, and clearly coming in against this team, they're going to watch some film of that. And you talk about a team with some swagger running out of the tunnel onto the floor because they put up big numbers against the Orlando Magic. So they've already operated offensively with a lot of freedom, a lot of shot making, a lot of fun. And I think that they're going to be very confident in this game because they've got a track record against doing it against this team.
How many threes can the Magic make and still win this game? Because to your point, if the Hornets are averaging almost 20 threes a game in their last three games against them, and by the way, that's just what they do. They get them up and they play at a fast pace. They move the ball. Orlando had 7 in the last game. I'm not sure they can be competitive in this game tomorrow night unless they make, 13 or 14, just because you're going to have to put up more than 97 points.
There's no question that it's going to take that. Like, I don't think they can make less than 14, 15. I don't think you can make less than that because Charlotte's proven it. They're going to shoot absolute minimum. They're going to shoot about 42. They might approach 50. They've got a lot of guys that can hit them. They string them together. On a bad night, they're going to get to 14, 15 themselves. They have a good night, they're going to be around 20. That's just a lot to make up. And you look at on the season, the Orlando Magic make 11.7. So that, believe it or not, there's actually 6 teams that make fewer. Houston, Toronto, New Orleans, Detroit, Dallas, and Sacramento. So you got a mixture in there. You got some teams that are solid playoff teams. You got 3 lottery-bound teams. And then you got the Orlando Magic in there making 11 a night. They made 7 against Philly. Charlotte's going to shoot. They're going to get up 10, 12 in the first quarter. So that, to me, is going to be the story of the game. Can Orlando, number one, can they do a better job defending the 3 than they have in the last 3 times they've played them? And then can they just make a respectable number to give themselves a chance? Because right now, you really want – let's get this thing into a walk-it-up game with 5 minutes to go, 1 possession. Yeah. Orlando will take their chances in that kind of game because then their defense and their physicality can have a real impact in the game. And they do have some guys like Banchero he is capable of making big shots late. So but the question is, will they be there in that position against a team like Charlotte, who's this freewheeling team who they don't want to just win a game. They want to run you out of the building. And so this is going to be fascinating, man. And the Charlotte run and the way they've captivated all of us the second half of the year. Let's see if they can pull this off, man, and actually get into a best of 7.
It should be great. And by the way, against Detroit, which I think is a really fun matchup. It's a very good offense-defense matchup. I'm looking for Concanipple. I mean, there's no way to slice it. It was a horrible game in the first play-in. He looked tight. He looked a little just off rhythm, and then he was missing his shots by just a little bit. We'll see if he bounces back in this one or if that becomes a storyline. If we go to the other one, Warriors-Suns, as great as the Warriors were, Legs, as awesome of a game as that was to see, as high of a ceiling as they reached in that fourth quarter, I do worry that they used the last little bit of fairy dust that they had. It just looked like that was a game they went home and fell asleep immediately on the couch because they'd used all of their energy reserves. So what do you see in this game?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. Again, they got to go on the road. In some ways, I hear what you're saying, but I also think there's another side to it, which is, did what they did sort of shake off a lot of the lack of rhythm and chemistry and flow they've had since Curry came back? Did they exorcise that? And now they've got this belief again because this amazing player that can have these moments he's so impactful even when he's not making shots and what it does for everybody else. But now this guy's actually now maybe he's in rhythm. Maybe now we have this guy back at playoff level Steph that they're going to have a belief that maybe they didn't even have in this game against the Clippers, that they're going to have against Phoenix. It's going to be tough. It's on the road, man. You're talking about one-off on the road with 2 teams that are in the play-in for a reason. They've both teams, and Phoenix, some of that had to do with injuries. They might not have been if they didn't have those injuries when they did, but they're in the play-in for a reason. So they're flawed, and now you should be able to win a game at home if you're the Phoenix Suns. You played to get this spot, to have 2 opportunities. You earn that. You got to take advantage of one of these 2. Yeah. Portland, I'm high on the Blazers. I like my Blazers.
Hey, man.
They got it done.
I know. I'm so glad you were off the show Wednesday because otherwise you were texted. You could tell the people, man. I don't even know if the final buzzer had sounded yet before I got the Legler text.
I didn't think it was going to happen at one point in that game, but man, you come on, you got to be impressed with those Blazers.
I was very impressed.
Abdi was unbelievable. It's for a guy that doesn't have a whole lot going on from the perimeter, man. His ability to just put his head down and he comes at you with so much force and gets you back on your heels. Man, I just love watching him play. He's so tough. But this is going to be a tall task for Golden State to win 2 road games to get in. Like, it'd be incredible, man, if they're able to pull it off.
Is it a disappointment for the Suns if they don't? They've had a great year. They've basically been the 7th seed the entire time. If they don't advance, in your mind, is that
massively for this reason? And there's a lot of different circumstances, and the context is important. Yes, they were, to me, one of the teams with the best stories and surprises in the league. I thought Jordan Ott had a great opportunity to win Coach of the Year. I thought the injuries derailed that a little bit, just because they didn't get to the win number he's probably going to need to win that award. But I was talking about him all year. Then the injuries came. All right, you start slipping and sliding. You don't have enough offense. I get it. Here's the thing, though, Adam. Here's why I still think, yes, they're going to be massively disappointed if they don't get in, because they had 2 opportunities at home to win a game. You know, that's a little different than if even now, like, yeah, Charlotte, they're going to be disappointed, but you know, you had to go on the road to win, to get into the postseason. That's not going to feel the same. And also, they're going to walk away from it going, you know what? We found ourselves the second half of the season. Watch out next year. That's what they would feel, a team like that. Phoenix, when the season was just so kumbaya and it felt so good about everything, and they changed their identity, and everybody gave them respect when they didn't respect them the last few years, and all that stuff. And now you lose 2 home games in a row in a play-in, and you don't even get into a best of 7. They're going to feel massively disappointed, and it's going to feel a lot different going into the summer, heading into next year because of it, if that happens.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. But the play-in has been great, or as I call it, the wild card. The wild card's been great. I can't wait to see who the last 2 wild cards are. Wild cards always have a chance. So we'll see it tomorrow night. Hornets Magic, 5:30 on Prime, and then Warriors Suns, 8 o'clock right after that. Friday night hoops should be fantastic. We got a couple super chats, Atticus. What are the people saying today, man? The people were feeling it too. Max says, do you guys think the exceptions to the 65-game rule undermined it from now on? So this is a big story today. The league came out and announced that Luka and Cade Cunningham, it's fine. Even though they didn't play 65 games and meet the criteria, there's exceptions to be made. Luka, because he was obviously, he had a child, so he's at the birth of his child. And then Cade, because the injury was so severe. I have hard thoughts about this, Legs, but I don't want to say them until you say them.
Okay, so no, I'm not. Here's what I look, man. I'm a common sense person.
Sure. And
I like applying common sense to situations. And when you draw up a rule with great intent, I love what they were trying to do. They wanted to encourage guys to play, man. Like, and I'm talking about play through maybe some of the more minor injuries. You know, not take load management nights. At 65 is really generous number. Like, that still leaves you 17. That's more than 20% of the season that you could still miss. So the intent was great, and I still thought it was pretty kind to the players to make it 65. They could have made it 70. They made it 65. Okay, very doable. But here's the thing. I look at it and go, okay, you should be able to get to that number, man. At the same time, I look at the context. Let's just take Cade Cunningham's injury. That guy would have shattered 65 games. He ends up with this weird, fluky injury, a collapsed lung. I mean, so I'm looking at should that guy really pay the price with the year that he's had? And leading a team to the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And he was clearly not trying to do load management or miss games with minor injuries or any of that. A guy had a collapsed lung. Like, I do think common sense has to kick in that situation. And then a situation with Luka, he gets hurt the last game to prevent him, from having one more game to be able to do it. And he missed 2 games because he had to fly overseas for the birth of a child. Like, I think common sense needs to apply to some of these instances. So no, I don't think it undermines it completely. And look, by the way, they didn't just say yes to everybody. Anthony Edwards, he got denied.
But what's the difference?
So,
Cade Cunningham one? Collapsed lung. Yes, it's weird. It's abnormal.
Well, I guess because Anthony Edwards was at 60. If he was at 63, 64, they probably changed that. So I just think not everything has to be so black and white and so well defined. I do think these guys, man, think about their legacy in these seasons. They don't have that many in their prime to be able to get all league MVP votes, all that stuff. And just look at the context of the individual situation. And so, and I think that's what the league's going to do on a case by case basis. And I'm going to pat them on the back. I think they're doing the best that they can to try to still include guys for these teams that people want to see on these teams because of extenuating circumstances that were a little bit out of their control.
So I am in total agreement with you that I think this is the best outcome. It was always silly that Cade and Luka and all these guys were going to be left off. But I still hate the ruling, because this is the Adam Silver era to me, is that we make these rules and never enforce them. And that's the thing that I think is so silly. The rule was bad to begin with. Then we had the rule and it had a bad outcome. And it's like, well, we have an exception that doesn't really make sense. We just all kind of know it in our gut. And to me, it's just the ultimate proof of this whole thing about a hard line for 65 games or whatever. They got to work on it in the offseason. They got to come up with a new plan, because I do think this is the right outcome. But it just seems like there's a lot of rules we start and never enforce, and that's kind of the way I look at the league now. All right, what do we have? Another one here comes from Daniel. He says, anyone else frustrated by the amount of shoulder smashes or Hulk smashes allowed by some offensive players? Your guy Denny, Paolo, Jaime Jaquez, Dylan Brooks. It's everywhere. It's worse than SGA's grifting, in my opinion. So he's talking about when a player drives and then just bumps as hard as you can with the shoulder and the player goes flying back. What do you think, Legs?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's probably more leeway given there with that particular type of move. The extended off arm a little bit too on those pullbacks and step backs. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, particularly when now you're living in the era of the super slow-mo replay, and you get these great looks at this stuff, and it always looks even worse when you watch the replay than it was in the moment. But here's the way I look at it too. I played in an era when the game is incredibly physical. Getting open was not easy. Guarding guys was tough because they could use their off arm to get you off them and things like that. So I like physical contact in the game, so it really doesn't bother me. I don't watch it and go, I can't believe you're letting this guy get away with it. I'm not one of those guys that feels that way. I understand the fans, and what you typically get are fans that will have this opinion, particularly the day after a guy on the other team did it to their team repeatedly and had a big night. And then it seems to bother people a lot more. Yeah, but they might even have one guy on their own team that does it, and it doesn't seem to bother them as much. So here's the thing. Here's all I care about. As long as it seems like it's consistently called or not called, or like everybody's got guys that can get away with it because that's their style of play, then I'm okay with it, man. That's really all you want, is try to keep it consistent across the board for everyone. And then all the players can adapt, and then fans can adapt to it as well.
Yeah. This one, I do agree. Steve Kerr had a great take on it, though, saying that there's all these rules are for the offense. So you can rip through, you can push off, you can step back and jump forward. And it is at some point you're like, how do you even guard these guys? The last one's not a super chat, but I highlighted it anyway, Legs. Thoughts on the new Washington uniforms? We are so back.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I have, man. It wasn't like.
It didn't do it for you.
Wasn't getting me all hyped up like a lot of people.
Wow.
And I'm still really, really mentally suffering from last season. I'm going to be honest.
It was too soon. Yeah.
I'm suffering from last season, and now you're going to hit me with that, pretty significant increase in my season ticket price. Like I got hit with this year. It's like, so it's like, and people obviously from like old school back in the day, Redskins fans are like, they're talking about, it seems like they're trying to find some connection to that era. And I'm just like, I didn't love it when all the name change and all that happened either, but I'm also way past that point now.
Yeah.
Way past that point. Like I'm okay with the Commanders. I'm okay with the new logo. Like I don't know why we need new uniforms constantly. How about we just improve the product on the field? How about we just do that?
Commander's Legs is just, it's like a whole different person. The moment the Commanders come up, it's just like this different person snaps into place. He's still upset about last season.
I'm not in a good place, man. I am not in a good place. I am just not. You go to the NFC Championship game and then you have a year like last year. That's very difficult emotionally to cope with that, man. You think you're back for at least, a decade. Like, oh, we're back. 1 year? That's not back. It better happen this year.
Man, we need this offseason to be a little longer, it sounds like. You have more processing to do, more emotional processing.
I know, I totally do, man. Everybody's talking about the draft, NFL draft. I'm like, man, listen, I'm starting the NBA playoffs. That's where my mind is at right now. My first game is Saturday night, Lakers-Rockets. I cannot wait for the next 2 months of basketball.
I can't either, man. We got a great game tomorrow night, then a great game, weekend games here. So every playoff game will take place over the weekend. And guess what? Monday, Legs and I are back breaking it all down. 8 games to break down. I can't wait for it. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Hit the like button. We'll see you next time.
We all silly like the mayor.